Hello and welcome back to the Fastest Podcast, where we cover everything from the greatest overtakes to the fastest pit stops. I'm here today with Pigeon and Dan, and we are going to go through our Monza preview before the Italian Grand Prix this weekend. So guys, we all had such a fun time with the Dutch Grand Prix. Pigeon, you were there. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the experience you had?
Yeah, it was my first time visiting a Grand Prix. I think going to Zandvoort was a really good choice. I was just between the arena and the DRS straight, so I had a pretty good view of the action. A lot of overtakes happened over there. And the Dutch, they like to party, so between every on-track session, they had some kind of event going on, music playing, blasting throughout the entire track, like little games played on the screen. So it was a really fun weekend. I was located like 15 kilometers off the circuit, so I could have a little drive every morning through the Zandvoort dunes, which was nice. I had a blast. So going again next year.
I mean, it looked like it was a good one to be at in person. So
It really was.
yeah, it looked like a good time. But I mean, Monza next. Lots to take away from the Dutch Grand Prix. Lots of things that I think are going to impact in Monza. I mean, we've got a 5-second penalty for Hamilton. That he's going to have to serve.
It's a 5-place grid penalty.
Grid penalty?
Yeah.
Well, I knew that.
I mean,
what did I say?
You said second penalty, yeah, which can happen, but yeah,
it can happen. No, grid penalty.
Yeah, I love the fact that we're going from the Dutch Grand Prix to the Italian Grand Prix because it's two venues where drivers love coming there. The fans are one of the most passionate in the world, from the Orange Army to the tifosi. And Monza, it always delivers, whether it's just the turn one shenanigans or the podium ceremony. It's just iconic, legendary, especially when there's a Ferrari on the podium. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of really great wins at Monza. Right, it always does deliver. Dan, what are you thinking heading into the weekend?
I'm looking forward to it. You assume that the two McLarens will be the class of the field again, 1 and 2. I personally would back Piastri to take pole position, and going into turn 1 at Monza, you never know if Norris can get the slipstream. It's a tight chicane. There could be contacts between them, or we could see what Piastri done last year. At 3 and 4. To Norris, so that's quite an exciting prospect. Obviously, the two championship rivals going for each other, but I'm backing Ferrari to get a podium at a home race. I don't think it will be Hamilton purely because of the grid penalty. I think Leclerc will be too far up the road by that time. Maybe even Verstappen, in the question for third place as well. But Ferrari, they tend to have that sort of setup wherever they go, the Monza setup. So I'm backing a Ferrari to be on the podium.
If it's going to happen anywhere, what a place for them to do it. I mean, they've had a pretty bad run of things lately, and I think this penalty is probably the last thing that they needed going into the home race. But I mean, it's looked kind of promising, until it didn't at Zandvoort. I mean, Vasseur was saying, Hamilton said as well, there was an optimism that wasn't really there before the summer break. So pair that with the home crowd, it could make for a good go for them, Never know what to expect from Ferrari anywhere. So if we're gonna give them any hope, I would probably bank it on Monza. But I mean, going back to what you were saying about McLaren, obviously we could see a bit of a spanner in the works there with Norris. It's unclear as of right now what they're going to do about that engine situation. I've heard mixed things. I've heard he might not need to take a new engine. He might. Whether I don't know if that's still within his allocation for the season, so that could be a penalty as well. But we do also know that Monza is a preferred track for a lot of drivers to take that penalty, change the engine out, change other components out. So do you think that could be a big story going into the weekend? Because, I mean, only time will tell on that one.
I mean, as of right now, it's Tuesday. We usually see the announcements of crit penalties on Wednesday. So we'll just have to see. I do think a couple of people will be taking penalties. I do think that there are some people who have already maxed out their elements. I don't even think it'll be that much of a difference for Norris if he does take one. Because even if you go back 5 places, you just have to overtake a Mercedes, a Ferrari, a Verstappen, and then that's it. So that's 5 laps for him. I don't really see any issue with him taking a penalty there. I am looking at the allocation. He does have one more to take before getting a penalty. So,
hallelujah, Dan.
Yeah, I think I think the interesting thing will be all Mercedes cars. They've had a track record this season of being the most unreliable power unit. I think Antonelli Barcelona, I think also Antonelli in Imola, and I think there's been a couple of times Williams and Aston Martin have suffered, engine problems, and then obviously Norris in Zandvoort. So, who's saying that Piastri can't have the same luck, the same bad luck in Monza, and that would blow the championship wide open again. So I think engine failures for the Mercedes customer teams and the main team could still play a pivotal role in championship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a bit strange, maybe out of place for us to see so many problems with the Mercedes engines. They kind of were predicted to be the strongest looking manufacturer of their engines going into the new regulations next year. So I suppose that could definitely throw a spanner in the works if people are maybe second guessing that.
I mean, there's a difference between looking very strong as an engine and being reliable. I mean, you can be the fastest in the field, but if you don't finish the race because you're DNFing due to engine issues, that's not helping you. Mercedes have been powerful, and yeah, we have seen a couple of mechanical retirements from them. I don't think we should look too much into it. You have 4 engines per season, and it's more likely to have one earlier in the season than later in the season, because as you go further into the season, you'll have more engines to use during practice sessions, during qualifying. You can just chuck one in for the Friday, an old one, and if that one breaks down, that's not an issue because you just lose an hour of running at most. If you do it on Saturday, however, then you're in big trouble if you have to go all the way back to the grid. But if that does happen, then you're already on the back of the grid and you can just take a new penalty, a new engine. So, but I don't think we should read too much into it going into 2026. Mercedes have always been strong mechanically. I don't think we should expect anything else going into 2026. Or this weekend, for that matter, because Mercedes have had their moments. I think we could see them challenge for a podium along with Ferrari and Verstappen, or maybe even Hajar going back to back.
Well, that would definitely be great to see. That I think was the only positive I took away from the Dutch Grand Prix. So, I mean, there's a bit of a streak now of drivers breaking their podiums in Zandvoort. So it would be good to see another rookie on the podium. Monza does like to deliver a surprise. We haven't really seen that so much for the last few years, kind of with the Red Bull dominance. It's not been anything too crazy, like a Gasly win or a that kind of crazy.
I mean, last 5 years we've had Gasly, Ricciardo. Last year Leclerc. No one expected that one until the last 10 laps. So yeah, we have had some surprise winners, even if the ones who were winning were established winners already. There were surprises nonetheless. So. We could see a strategic battle again this year. I would love to see different strategies throughout the field.
Yeah, I think that's something that's maybe been lacking a little bit. Everyone's kind of been going through all the same pit windows, starting. I was happy to see, Max starting on the soft. I think he started on the softs at Zandvoort. Shaking it up at the front of the grid, whereas everyone else just stuck to the predictable strategy. So I think if there's ever a place to do it again, Monza's just all round good for whatever you want to throw at it. So I think there's a lot of potential there. Do you have any kind of big bold predictions for Monza, because it is that track?
I would say if anyone's gonna do something special, I'm backing Yuki Tsunoda here. I think he's got the same spec as Verstappen, and like you said, Monza throws up some surprises. And Tsunoda is a good driver. You don't lose talent overnight just because you've changed team. So if someone is, going to bounce back from a terrible season, let's be honest, it's been awful. I would say I would back Yuki Tsunoda to get the podium in Monza ahead of, say, another driver who's had a bad season like Lewis Hamilton.
I did not expect that from you, to be fair. Another question then: which of the McLaren is DNFing then?
Careful. Careful.
For the sake of a good championship fight, Piastri.
Okay, well, we know who to blame if he does. I think Hamilton will be doing something special. At this point in the season, he doesn't have anything to lose. He did crash last week. I think Hamilton might just enjoy the rest of the season. I think they're pretty much safe from Mercedes at this point. If they just keep up, just P4s, P5s, they should just be fine.
It's close.
Yeah,
it's close. There's only 12 points in it now between them.
Yeah, but still, I believe that Ferrari are more consistent with their performance. If you see like Antonelli still making some silly mistakes here and there, Russell not always being comfortable with the car. Excuse my English. I think Hamilton might get his first podium with Ferrari at Monza, despite his 5-place grid penalty.
Forgot about that for a second.
I'm happy to remind you.
I'm sure you are. Thank you.
It was a silly penalty anyway, so.
I don't know, but I don't know if I agree with you on that one.
Did you read the FIA document or?
No, but I saw the video.
Yeah.
I was so shocked by what I was seeing. I couldn't quite comprehend what was going on there for a second. So I do think that was pretty slam dunk, but
yeah, it's a slam dunk penalty, but it's one of the most silly rules ever.
Sure.
I hate to see that penalty being given for any driver. Yeah, it's slowing down, but not enough. It's always, it's just silly. But the penalty's been given, and it's only 5 places. Could have been worse.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see him replicate his last Silverstone win. Vibes for the crowd. Technically a home race now.
Yeah.
Lewis masterclass in front of the tifosi.
I think Hamilton's more likely to bin it than get on the podium.
Oh, so pessimistic, Dan. Ye have little faith.
Come on, man. If there was ever a place. You're... No. Anyway. So you're banking more on a Yuki Tsunoda. What was that? Podium or win for Tsunoda?
Podium. Oh, yeah, podium.
He's crazy, not delusional.
Exactly.
I'd say close enough there. But on that note, bold predictions. So right, we've got Hamilton masterclass. We've got Tsunoda.
Making a deal with the devil.
Yeah. I don't know what I want. I just don't want to spend any time on the floor this weekend. I'm not fussy. I'm not fussy anymore. I've lost all hope. I want to back Lewis though, going into the weekend. I think he's kind of come out with fighting words. I think he's a driver that responds very well to a very positive crowd. So I think we can see something. A podium. That would be lovely. I think, if a McLaren driver, when a McLaren driver wins, if you got a Ferrari on the podium, no one's going to care about that anyway. So it would be great to see. But I mean, what are we thinking about Red Bull going in? Because aside from the Yuki Tsunoda situation going on, Max seems to be somewhere. He kind of felt in a bit of a league of his own watching the race in Zandvoort, but he did also make some comments about how maybe the sister team was a bit too close and on the pace for comfort. So what do we think going in to Monza?
I think he's just not happy with the car. He's not been happy with the car all season, yet he produces something. First time back on the podium in Zandvoort, which is nice. We did see him take pole with that Monza spec wing in Silverstone. So we know he's pretty comfortable driving the car with that setup. I just don't think that they will be successful at Monza. I think he'll probably battle it out with either Leclerc or Hamilton. And probably lose. That's what I think.
Not very optimistic.
From my delusions on Tsunoda, I don't think Red Bull will be on the pace of Ferrari. They might be battling Mercedes because Mercedes tend to struggle more in the hot weather, and I think it's predicted to be quite hot in Monza at the weekend. So I think battling for sort of 4th, 5th will be Red Bull's ceiling. Apart from the delusion. I
mean, does come after Helmut Marko kind of went into the Dutch Grand Prix weekend saying, "Oh, you never know, we could be producing a surprise," and then there was no surprise. So I don't know. It's hard. I think it's hard to call track to track now with Red Bull with the state of things there. I think it is just Max now. I don't think it's tons to do with the car. I think it's him making the difference. So I suppose we'll have to see. But one driver I did want to bring up on the subject of Monza is Antonelli, because it's not been great for him. He was doing a pretty solid job before he took Leclerc out of the race. Do you think he's maybe feeling a little bit of pressure going into an Italian race as an Italian driver who's just caused essentially a Ferrari double DNF the previous weekend?
I mean, it didn't cause double DNF. Hamilton managed quite on his own.
what I mean is it was DNF.
Yeah.
And then he made it a double DNF.
He made it a double DNF, okay. It was a silly mistake. You go into turn 3, which has been infamous for not being able to overtake down the inside after lap 1, which is a mouthful, but it's true. The banking is just not good enough on the inside. If you take too much speed, you'll drift towards the outside, as we saw, drifting straight into the back of Leclerc. Silly mistake. Could have been prevented easily. Wasn't. Yeah. I think you can see that he is still a rookie. He's of course had a pretty good early season where he took pole and he was on the podium and all of those, and now you can kind of see him make a couple of mistakes, and given that he's in a Mercedes seat, he's judged harshly for it because you're in a Mercedes seat. If Behrman, I think Behrman does do that, making little mistakes. He's not scrutinized nearly as heavily as Antonelli is, in my opinion. I think we need to keep in mind that he is still a rookie and he's still learning. Yeah.
Also, Antonelli's replaced Lewis Hamilton, who's statistically the best F1 driver there's ever been. So there is a lot of pressure on his shoulders to perform, which I think is a bit unfair. I don't think any of the other rookies have that pressure. Maybe at Alpine, but that's just a different story.
There's different pressure, I believe.
Yeah. But, I think it's difficult to judge Antonelli on this season due to the pressure. I think we can probably draw conclusions about him better next year, where, there won't be the rookie element, and, hopefully he learns from these mistakes that he's making and can push on, because I think he could be, a top driver in the making. But he just needs to iron out these mistakes.
I mean, the reason I ask, as well as the Leclerc incident, is because, after that race, I'm sure you guys might have seen what Villeneuve had to say. Bit of a controversial one. He kind of hit he shouldn't be there, very young, if you can't perform, because he has been put in that seat for a reason. I kind of get both sides of that argument, but I suppose it's a tricky one, because, as you say, none of the other rookies are in a top team. However, in arguably much worse cars, he is being outperformed. So where do you kind of think we draw the line on that one?
I do believe that the entire point of Jacques Villeneuve is to make headlines with controversial statements nowadays.
He does a good job of that.
Yeah, but okay, so if you are an F1 expert or an ex-F1 driver who is going into the media side of it, you have a unique perspective on how to race and how to compose yourself, both on and off the track. I believe that Villeneuve isn't thinking about his time in the car when he's making these kinds of statements. Because personally, I flat out disagree with him like 95% of the time. If you look at any rookie who has been introduced since way back when, they are going to make mistakes at some point. Whether it be their first year, their second year, or 5 years into their career. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make silly, stupid mistakes. And that's just part of racing. You're driving a lot of kilometers, and at some point in those kilometers, you're going to make a silly mistake, braking too early, too late, steering into the pit lane in the wrong pit box. Whatever it is, you're going to make a mistake. And I don't think that you should scrutinize them that heavily for it. Everyone does it. I'm sure that Villeneuve also did it. It's. I don't think it's fair to Antonelli. I don't think it's fair to any driver.
I think it was definitely harsh. I think with Villeneuve and his sort of punditry, it's a mix between okay, it's not really a mix. It is all very hypercritical. I think, when you see other ex-drivers, for example, when Jensen Button's on, you kind of get that more human perspective on what it's like in the car as the driver. Whereas with Villeneuve and some of the other pundits, it's hardcore criticism because they've been in that position. So I think it's a fine line. Dan, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah. What I would say about Antonelli is I think he should be in F1, but I think maybe the Mercedes seat is just that little bit too big for him at the moment. I would say, after Hamilton going into McLaren in 2007, you've not seen a rookie just thrown straight into a top team before. They did have options. They could have put him in the Williams, signed Sainz up for a year or two and put him in the Williams, like they did with Russell. And I think it's showing that maybe Antonelli shouldn't have been put in the Mercedes straight away. I would have liked to see him give a year or two out of the limelight, learn his trade, develop, etc. Like the other drivers, like the other rookies have. But like I did say, he does have talent, and further down the line, I do think if he can be in the right car, he will be challenging for championships. So it's that fine line between, do you put him in the Mercedes and get him ready for the next season so he's ready to jump straight in, or do you give him time to develop at a lower team? That's what they had to weigh up, and they've obviously put him in the Mercedes, and it's going to cost them points in the Constructors' Championship. So if I had been in charge, I probably would have put him in the Williams, if I'm being honest. But
I do believe that they hired him for the sole purpose of getting into 2026 with him being familiar with Mercedes, having a relationship with Russell, engineers, whatever it is. They wanted him to be ready for 2026, and that's why they hired him for 2025. I think that's the case with most of the rookies on the grid at this point. Because you don't just hire 6 rookies if you're not going to have a big change-up. And I do believe that we have seen some pretty good action this year from the rookies.
Definitely. I mean, it's a transitional year, isn't it? They are kind of, like you say, I think that's exactly why they're doing it. But I mean, on the whole thing about Williams, I don't think that a rookie is kind of what Williams want at the moment anyway. It doesn't really fit with the alignment of what they're doing with the team. They're trying to fix that car. So for them, similar to what Cadillac want to do next year, they want to develop their car. They don't want to be dealing with extra components and cost cap from damage. I mean, they're having their own problem with that anyway. But, it's I don't think it would have fit. So I kind of think the Mercedes seat was all they could do with him. I do hate to say it. I do think it was maybe too much too soon. But I do hope it pays off for him in 2026.
I mean, I as you talk about Williams, I really love what Williams is doing at the moment. They hire 2 professional, seasoned drivers. You have James Vowles at the helm of that team. They have gone from scoring very rarely to now taking P4s, P5s. The only thing they haven't done is take a podium. I do think we will see them on the podium this year at some point with either one or at some point both drivers. Not in the same race, of course, but I do think that Williams has what it takes this year, and they will definitely get into the top 5 if we get the front field in the top 5 instead of the top 4. I do think that we will see them challenging for the front of the field at some point in the next years.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost kind of a shame in Zandvoort to that Sainz's race got kind of ruined the way it did. It would have been interesting to see if both of them could have finished in the points. I mean, Alex had a great drive, and there was so much going on in that race. Afterwards, it was like, wait, he's P5 and Behrman's here, and there was so much going on in that race. You got so many people maybe out of position in the points at the end, so it would have been great to see if they could have had that double points finish. So yeah, I think I am in total agreement. I think that they are finally kind of on the right track with their drivers and their development, and it's great to see. It's great to see. It's what we need. Any other thoughts now about Monza? Because it's going to be a pivotal race, I think. It's going to be an exciting race, I hope. So there's a lot going on. It's close now in the midfield. There's only 12 points in it between Mercedes and Ferrari. We know what's going on at McLaren. What
I think Monza always delivers when it comes to the race. I'm looking at the current allocations of parts for all drivers. There are 7 drivers who are either on the edge of getting a penalty or who have already taken a penalty. I think we're going to see some new engines being taken, and that will definitely spice it up a little bit. Because as we all know, Monza is basically one big straight with a couple of corners. So, yeah, it's going to be fun.
What's that looking like in terms of teams? Are there any sort of teams that are both on the with both drivers on the cusp of that?
Well, we have Ferrari, who are both one engine away from a penalty.
Excellent. That's great.
We have Mercedes, also both drivers who are one engine away from a penalty. We have Alonso, who has taken 4 already. We have Colapinto, who is already on a 5th and could potentially take a 6th. Then we have Behrman, who has taken a new engine last race. And then we have Lawson. I don't know when he took his last engine, but he's already on 5. Monza would be the perfect place to take a 6th, to just have one extra and one in the pool. But yeah, I mean, we have seen in the past that Monza is a qualifying session where the result doesn't necessarily mean that you will start the race there. I think we've seen Verstappen taking engine penalties there before in previous years. I think a couple of years ago we had like 8 drivers who were taking grid penalties, and it was an absolute nightmare to get the grid together. Even the FIA was struggling to figure it out. So yeah, if any track is going to have multiple drivers taking engine penalties, it's going to be Monza.
I mean, if Lewis doesn't qualify very well,
he might just take.
Already got that penalty. That would be a good one to watch.
P20 to P1.
If you're Alonso or Lawson, I'll just take it.
Makes sense.
You have
better than
very little to lose.
Better than taking it in Baku.
Mind you, Baku Sector 3 is basically just a straight.
It's not the worst place, but I would prefer to take it. You know, as a professional racing driver myself, I would definitely prefer to take it in Monza.
Oh, I'll take it in Monza, but Baku over Singapore.
Yes, definitely.
If I'm Leclerc, I'm not taking that engine penalty.
I mean, taking an engine penalty in Singapore is like taking one in Monaco. You just don't do it.
Sprint race Singapore next year.
Yeah.
I still can't get my head around that decision, but good for them.
You have a year, so...
You could give me 5 years. I don't think I'll get my head around that decision. But
we'll get back to it when we do the Singapore preview next year. Have you got your head around it yet?
I'm preparing my hate speech in preparation.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I think, you know, we've covered everything. We're going to get a Tsunoda podium. Hamilton's going to win.
Piastri's
I'm going to be happy. No, I don't want him to DNF. That would be terrible.
And Hulkenberg will beat Bortoletto.
Maybe on track, but...
Most importantly.
can't. Yeah, that's probably what will happen. Probably.
Just utter chaos as always.
That is what I live for with Monza. I mean,
Turn 1 chaos.
no chicanes. It's just. I went to Monza a few years ago and I found the photos. Not for a race, but just me at the site of the 2021 incident. Just what a great place, you know? What a great track.
I didn't know you
excited.
could kickflip a car until that moment.
Oh, what a time. What a time. No. I was watching that race at work, actually, and I had a customer ask me if I was okay. Because never seen that before. So that was... Yeah, we love it. But I mean, hopefully it will produce something. Even if it means we have a break from the McLaren dominance, just give us something, you know? I think that's a special thing with Monza. You get a winner who you never could have fathomed would be there. So,
to be fair, Racing Bulls, when they were Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, whatever you want to call them, they have a history of turning up in Monza. Seb,
yeah,
Gasly, Hadjar's just been on the podium.
had your first win in Monza. You heard it here first, guys. There we go. So, Yuki's P2 behind him?
Obviously. He's not going to win.
Hadjar is going to get a very quick phone call from Mr. Helmut Marko himself after that.
You heard it here first. Verstappen demoted to Racing Bulls. Or promoted.
Yeah.
I think he'd prefer it.
We're gonna
If I were him at this point, I'd be saying, guys, I'm trying to see something. Let's give it a go.
Imagine if we end the year with the reverse lineup of Racing Bulls and VCARB that Red Bull that we started with, which is Verstappen and Lawson and Racing Bulls and Hadjar and Tsunoda and Red Bull. Oh.
I mean, Red Bull have done some pretty crazy things with their lineup before, but I think that would definitely top anything Helmut Marko could have ever possibly dreamed up.
See, that's the chaos we want.
That's
exactly.
the Monza chaos.
Make it happen, Red Bull.
For the bants at this point. But anyway, I think that's everything for our preview, and we will be back this weekend after qualifying and after the race with more of our wonderful input onto the race weekend. So if you enjoyed this video, you can like and subscribe, leave us a comment, let us know what you want to see, and of course in the meantime you can keep up to date with us on social media and on our website. Thank you so much for joining us today for this podcast, and we will see you next time.